Good evening, welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program tonight, the Indian Army strikes back hard. After Indian soldiers are beheaded, the Army releases video of punitive fire assaults across the line of control. A Pakistani post is comprehensively demolished and the message is clear. If the Pak Army supports terrorists looking to infiltrate India, then watch out. The Indian Army will strike very hard along the line of control. What's happened recently along the line of control is actually something that's been happening for several weeks. But today, with the senior general coming on record, India is clearly sending out a strong message. This is the threat we face. Here's how we intend to respond. This is the post that the army struck in the Nowshera sector of the line of control on the 9th of this month, hitting it with recoilless guns, automatic grenade launchers, missiles, perhaps even tanks.
As part of our counter-terrorism operations, punitive fire assaults across line of control are being undertaken by the Indian Army. Pak Army has been providing support to the armed infiltrators by engaging our forward troops from their weapon emplacements and pillboxes closer to the line of control. Indian Army proactively dominates line of control.
Part of the Army's messaging was also to publicly indicate a response to the beheading of 2 Indian soldiers by Pak commandos on the 1st of May in the Krishna Ghati sector of the line of control. In a tweet, the Pakistani Army denies that any attack took place in Nowshera. According to their official spokesperson, Indian claims to destroying Pakistani post along LOC in Nowshera sector and firing by Pak Army on civilians across the line of control are false. While the Indian Army doesn't have a count on the casualties it's inflicted in this Nowshera attack, senior officers say an accurate number may never be available since Pakistan rarely reveals its military losses. Vishnu Shom for NDTV. Well, just in the last little while, Pakistan has now issued their own counter video to, apparently on the 13th of May, they targeted Indian posts. So this tit-for-tat sort of reality on the line of control seems to be continuing. Well, earlier today, I spoke to Lieutenant General D.S. Huda, the former Northern Army commander, and I began by asking him whether he believed that what's been announced today is essentially part of a new messaging tactic by the Army, because this has essentially been happening for several weeks, but it's only now that we've chosen to reveal it or talk about it officially.
Yeah, that's true, Vishnu, and I think it's an important strategy. It's important messaging, and I think the message is for 2-3 constituencies. One, of course, is to our own people. Sometimes in the past you do hear of statements like, "What is the army doing? Has so and so thing actually happened or not?" And I think the video clearly puts out what the conditions are on the line of control. I think it's also a message. It's also a clear message to the Pakistan Army, because generally, whenever any verbal statements are put out, the first reaction is no, nothing like this has happened. So I think video evidence of what is happening on the line of control is important.
General, does this in a way draw the line of how far we are willing to retaliate? Does this seem to indicate that cross-border punitive fire along the lines of what we have seen is what will limit these assaults to, or do you see the possibility of surgical strikes happening again?
See, situations differ, and I think as far as our response is concerned, 2 things must happen. One, the response must be unpredictable, because if we are going to do the same thing over and over again, obviously, the other side can react and plan better for it. So the response must be unpredictable, and I think we must have a whole range of response, whether it is in terms of, as you're talking about, surgical strikes, whether it is in terms of fire assaults on the line of control. I think the key point, Vishnu, here is that we need to clearly tell Pakistan that it needs to stop sending terrorists from across the line of control into our area. And as long as that happens, obviously you're not going to see any kind of peace on the line of control.
General, do you see this summer being another so-called hot summer along the line of control? Because it seems that tit-for-tat retaliation continues to take place. We are hitting them hard. They're trying to strike back as well. Do you see another long, difficult summer along the line of control, perhaps the international border as well, like we saw last year?
I would think so, Vishnu, because, nothing has changed. And as I said, the ball is firmly in Pakistan's court. So if they are going to stop carrying out, cross LC activities, we've already seen mutilation of soldiers, which has taken place. Now, if these kind of activities are going to go on the LC, I mean, the Indian Army will respond and will respond appropriately. So I don't see it cooling down anywhere, in a hurry, Vishnu.
So do you believe that the essential message being sent to the entire world from our side is that unlike Pakistan, which tends not to give away the number of casualties that they've suffered, we on the other hand have no problem in doing that? Is this part of a messaging effort? Look, this is what is happening and this is what we are doing and we have nothing to hide?
Absolutely, Vishnu. We have nothing to hide. If we are going to be victims of this kind of terrorism which is flowing from across Pakistan, I think the whole world must know that this is how India will respond, this is how the Indian Army will respond. And as far as our casualties are concerned, our stance is extremely clear. Anybody who is martyred must get due honor. He must be treated with respect. And that is why we very openly bring out our casualties. We respect them, the manner in which they are transported home, the respect that is shown, by the state government, the local army units. I think we have frankly nothing to hide in this.
And General, one final question. The way we see it being played out on the line of control. In the past, when there were ceasefire violations, we used to respond with the same caliber of weaponry that was used by the Pakistanis. If they used light machine guns, we used light machine guns. But it seems that the bar for escalation has risen quite sharply. So in this particular case in Nowshera, we are seeing the use of recoilless guns. There may have been tanks which were used, anti-tank guided missiles, medium mortars. So essentially the entire gamut of weaponry available to infantry soldiers. So the escalation pattern from our side seems to be quite steep. Do you believe that this is a deliberate new strategy?
See, I won't call it an escalation pattern. So you have to respond, based on how things are happening across the line of control. Definitely, a couple of years back, generally exchanges were restricted to small arms fire. That is no longer the case. And it's no longer the case, as I said again, because see the kind of activities that are taking place from across the border. So I don't think we can limit ourselves and say, let's do only this much and no more.
All right, General, thank you very much for speaking to us. Always a privilege speaking to General Huda, the last Northern Army commander. I think the big question that we are asking tonight is whether the strikes, the likes of which we have seen being conducted by the Indian Army lately, will deter Pakistan from attempting to send across infiltrators, because that really is the overall goal of India's domination activities along the line of control. Joining us to debate this, GVL Narasimha Rao, the spokesperson of the BJP, Manishankar Iyer with us as well. We'll be joined by Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain, the former General Officer commanding of 15 Corps in Srinagar. Vivek Kaju, the former Secretary at the Ministry of External Affairs, joins us as well. I'd like to thank all of you for being with us. Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, what's happened with this Nowshera attack and the video being released today is not something that's not been happening. It's been happening with regular frequency over the last several weeks. So why has the army, why has the government chosen to release this footage now? What is the message that's being sent?
No, Vishnu, maybe for a long time, I think the army at the LOC has been carrying out every attempt at infiltration has been rebuffed, and every firing at the LOC has been rebuffed with a greater intensity. One reason why this video may have been put out, I don't have specific information as to why army chose to reveal this particular info. I think in the light of the fact that the summer has set in, and this is the time when infiltration from across the LOC actually intensifies with the snow melting on the Himalayas. So possibly this is a bigger activity, and possibly a video may have been shot only to convince cynics who have been raising questions or are seeking proof of surgical strikes. So maybe every such incident is not really videographed, and this one was particularly videographed for the cynics and parties which have been raising questions about them. So that could be one reason why this was put out in public domain.
Who are the cynics, Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao? I mean, if it's footage that was released, it's footage that is released. Has anybody actually said that they don't believe the army is releasing authentic footage? I certainly haven't heard of anybody.
No, last time, no. I think have you forgotten the controversy that erupted after the surgical strikes? I think these are activities carried out by our army, and even the surgical strikes were announced in a press conference by the then DGMO. But you had political parties raising questions.
I see your point.
Proof.
I see your point.
If you want me, I can name them.
I see your point. I see your point when you're talking about the previous surgical strike.
Pakistan has always been living in denial.
Yeah. Manishankar Iyer, let me come to you next. Pakistan has actually released footage in just the last 1 hour or so, and footage of an attack in the same Naushera area sector a few days after the Indian attack, where they say that what they are shown demolishing is an Indian army post. So if the effort was to send a strong signal to Pakistan, it appears that they are trying to send some signal of their own. So it's this tit for tat game on the line of control. Have we necessarily gained anything?
Well, you're absolutely right in saying that there is this tit for tat game. I think it's also necessary to underline that for decades now, the local army commanders have been given freedom to respond to any violation of the LOC or LOC conditions in an appropriate manner locally without having to check with anyone else. So this was a process which, as General Huda just now confirmed, has been going on for a very long time, but in recent times it has been made public in a way in which it has not been made public earlier. And as General Huda again said, it was in order to meet skeptics in India that they have put out this video to show that we actually do it. But I would say the more fundamental question is, by doing this, have we deterred the Pakistanis? The other question is, by doing what they're doing, have the Pakistanis deterred us? No. What is happening is an escalation in the kind of initiation as also in the kind of response. At this, the political implication of that is that we have to see whether we are driving towards an escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan, or whether our larger goal is to bring about a de-escalation of these tensions. General, and if the aim is to escalate tensions, then we are doing very well.
General Hasnain, do you believe that this, as Manishankar Iyer suggests, is going to potentially result in an escalation of tensions, or do you believe that by us releasing the footage that we have and making these international statements, it's going to deter Pakistan from pushing across infiltrators, because that's India's only goal along the line of control presently?
See, Vishnu, one thing has to be quite clear, that I don't think the intent of the surgical strikes was ever deterrence, nor do I think that the current actions which are being taken on the line of control are meant for deterrence. These are momentary things. The management of the line of control is a hugely complex issue. It is not seen in such simple black and white terms of strategic deterrence at a particular point in time. I can just reassure you that even in 2003, when I was a commander in Uri, I was also videographing many of these fire assaults, and I was sending them back to the MO Directorate to convince people in Delhi that we are actually carrying out fire assaults in Uri. And videography was that time not such a old thing, it had just come up in that time. To my mind, today's release of this videography is essentially a response to a demand for a very long time that the Indian Army and the Indian establishment has not been using the information domain sufficiently. And if you see the larger issues, I think General Bikram Singh in one of your earlier programs put it together in a very fine way when he said this is a tactical action with a strategic response. Overall, the effect has to be strategic. The idea is that there is a degree of loss of confidence in the public about the army not having responded in time. Secondly, there has been a certain amount of negativism with the kind of incidents which have been happening in the valley. Then you've had the Naugam encounter yesterday, day before, where we have lost 3 Jawans and killed 4 terrorists. When you see, put the entire picture together, don't look at this in isolation. When you see this entire picture put together, you realize that the time has come where we have to tell the public there is a lot being done. Have the patience, there is a lot being done. This is only the beginning of the summer, and there is a lot more which is going to happen. I don't think there is any issue of deterrence in this. Neither the Pakistanis are deterring us, neither are we deterring Pakistan.
Ambassador Karju, do you believe that this is essentially at one level a messaging game? It's and maybe the word game isn't appropriate, an exercise at messaging at various levels. Messaging by the army, messaging by the government to people across the country saying, look, this is the reality of the line of control, this is what we are doing, and also messaging to the international community that we aren't scared of not revealing what we are doing, we are not scared about not revealing our casualties. We are doing this, and we are doing this for a particular reason. So at various levels, today's press briefing and today's release of this video was more about messaging than perhaps that specific attack on Nowshera itself, on the LOC.
Vishnu, for a very long time, the Pakistanis have created this bogey of the nuclear overhang.
Yep.
And the purpose of this bogey, of the nuclear overhang, is to paralyze India into taking, into diffidence, in taking firm action to deter Pakistani aggression and Pakistani cross-border terrorism. I think the purpose of the surgical strike, to my mind, the strategic purpose, and of today's revelation of the video is to signal to the international community that this bogey of the nuclear overhang will not deter us. And I think to that extent, it's a useful exercise.
Yep.
Because in our diffidence, not to create a scenario which will lead the international community to come, come intervening in Indo-Pak issues, we have almost paralyzed ourselves, and it hasn't worked for almost 3 decades. Pakistani terror has continued.
Yep.
So, but there's been one aspect that because India has been diffident and quote unquote more responsible, the pressure has always been on us, and it's like this, that the world says the Pakistanis are naughty in any case, these are naughty boys, you should behave more responsibly, you are a larger power. I think that Modi government is signaling to the international community that their pressure and focus must be on Pakistan.
Right.
Because the difficulties arise from Pakistani action.
Okay.
And to that extent, I think it will ease pressure on us.
Arsalan
And it's
Bhatti, the
useful to
bureau
that
chief of
extent.
Dunya News, joins us now from Pakistan. Mr. Bhatti, without getting into whose military strike was more powerful or created more of an impact, the basic point here in India is that, infiltration has to stop. Just a few days back, 4 terrorists coming across the line of control were killed. We lost 3 soldiers. There have been innumerable instances of terrorists from across the line of control coming across. One way or the other, is there any move, any gesture, any indication that will stop?
Number one, terrorists in Pakistan, terrorists in India, terrorists in Nepal, terrorists in Sri Lanka, or all over the world, terrorist is terrorist. Forget about good or bad terrorist. Terrorist is terrorist. They should not be given any mercy. They should not be treated as if they are infiltrated. They came from where, but they should be punished immediately. Number one. Number two, Pakistan never supported, never ever facilitated any terrorist activity in the past nor in the future.
So we are
It is
imagining things, Mr. Bhatti. Why don't we move? Mr. Bhatti, with all due respect, this is rhetoric of about 15 years back. Since then, you know, the whole world knows, you also know, we also know, the terrorists come across, they come with Pakistani weaponry, they've got Pakistani IDs. So why don't you accept the fact that they come across? And the question therefore is much more pragmatic. Is there any indicator to show that somebody in Pakistan is trying to make it end? Let's move away from there. Pakistan doesn't send. The whole world knows you send. I'm just saying, can we move beyond that?
Of course, we can move beyond that, because if India and if the European Union, so many countries can sit together, why not India and Pakistan? We have common borders, long common borders, but we are just facing trust deficit between both of the countries. And you were talking about weaponry. Is it difficult to get Pakistani weapon, or is it difficult to get Indian weapon in Pakistan?
Yes, it is.
Not difficult.
Our weapons aren't available in the open market. Pakistani weapons are available for a price in Peshawar market, sir. It's the whole world knows this.
All right. I am answering. Let me answer. Weapons were definitely.
Darra Adam Khel.
No, it's all. Darra Adam Khel is one of the market, but now, present situation is, no weapons are available in Darra Adam Khel, in North Waziristan.
So then it's quite possible the Pakistani army is arming the people coming across. Mr. Bhatti, listen, I don't mean you any disrespect, but we aren't getting anywhere with this conversation in terms of looking forward. I want to go back to GVL Narasimha Rao because we are running short of time. Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, you know, I mean, the fact of the matter is that we are hitting Pakistan at a very, very major significant level from a military standpoint. Anti-tank guided missiles being used, tanks being used in a limited role, artillery in direct fire mode. This is all a very substantial escalation, obviously at a localized level. The point is, are we going to be in a situation where this can escalate further? More surgical strikes where we put our men across the line of control, or perhaps even a limited war of some sort, escalation. Where is this all going? Are we headed in a direction towards more escalation? Mr. GVL Narasimha
Rao. Vishnu, as long as Pakistan denies the existence of such strikes, I think there is no need to really think of any escalation, and we are not escalating it. Actually, Pakistan has been getting away with a low-cost strategy of exporting terrorism to India, and today I think we have started inflicting costs on them, and heavy costs on them. And on the diplomatic front also, they are feeling the pinch. I think at a conference where US President Donald Trump was visiting, I think Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif, his military chief, they all got a royal snub. The Pakistani media is actually telling them that the country has been humiliated. And in ICJ, we inflicted a huge legal embarrassment on them. I think from all sides, Pakistan today feels very small. Pakistan today feels ashamed, and on top of it, they are willing to accept accept all the strikes that we carry out across the LOC, and we publicly announce. And Pakistan simply wants to refuse even accepting such strikes having been carried out. So there is no possibility of escalation, but we shall continue to really bombard them, strike at the LOC until they stop sending terrorists across the LOC.
Well, let's hope that is some sort of a solution, because this tit for tat retaliation, Mr. GVL Narasimha Rao, unfortunately isn't ending. We are hitting them hard. There is documentary evidence, but they tend to do the same. And therefore, you know, I mean, is this necessarily the way forward in terms of achieving anything? And I'm not sure anybody has any answers right now. Obviously, one needs to react to infiltration. No two ways about that. But what's the long-term solution? Does anyone have an answer? I'd like to thank all of you very much for joining us today. We are completely out of time. One way or the other, the messaging here is absolutely clear. India sending a message not just to Pakistan, but to the world, that if we are attacked through infiltrators, we will hit and hit back. We have nothing to hide. We will release videos and we will tell the world this is exactly what we are doing. Time now for this short break. Stay tuned.